This is The Drive with Dale Lolley and Matt Williamson on your 24/7 home of the black and gold. SNR, Steelers Nation Radio.
Welcome.
Whoa. Wow.
It's Halloween. You got to get
It is. I forgot
Welcome.
it's Halloween, yeah.
Hey, it's The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson, and we are in a bye week officially tonight.
Yep, it's very true.
With week 9 kicking off.
Week 9.
Well, there's lots of stuff going on still around the league. It's right in the middle of the season. We got plenty of Steelers talk to get to here, plenty of other NFL talk as well. We were just talking there as the show started up. And this is how we do this.
Yeah.
Jamison Williams.
Did he do something else?
Might be the biggest moron
So
on the
what does
planet.
every possible way you can get in trouble and get suspended or whatever. I mean, getting injured is not his fault. But,
No.
I mean, like, this guy can't stay on the field, period. It's bonkers.
It is crazy.
What are you doing?
So for those of you who don't know, he's already suspended for 2 games.
Yes.
It was a violation of the drug policy for performance-enhancing drugs.
Performance-enhancing ones, right.
He's already been suspended for basically a season for gambling.
Yes. I think he placed a bet in the facility or
Yes.
whatever, which you're exactly not allowed to do.
It says it on the wall when you walk into the yeah. And now this week or this past weekend, while on suspension for the drug issue, the performance-enhancing drugs, he gets arrested with a unregistered gun in his car.
He's never going to be on the field.
Never.
You talk about teams like in the wide receiver market, Detroit better. Yeah, a D end would make sense for them, but counting on that guy is bonkers.
I mean, he's going to serve this 2-game suspension for the violation of the substance abuse policy and performance-enhancing drugs, I should say, and he'll be back after that.
Yeah. I mean, he might finish this season.
He'll finish this season, but he's going to be suspended going into next year for the gun charge.
And there's no way that the league's going to be light on him.
No.
I mean, because you just keep doing things, right.
At some point, you just call the guy into the commissioner's office, and the commissioner sits him down and said, "Do you like playing football?
Right.
Are you into this at all, or are you trying to?
Are you going for like the full house of different ways you
What's
can
next?
get this? Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I mean, you trying to get Yahtzee here that you can get them all?
It's like Pokemons. He's got to catch them all.
Right.
Catch all
Like he's collecting them.
all the suspensions you can get. So it's just crazy. Also, the New York Jets today place Alan Lazard, wide receiver, on IR. He'll be out at least the next 4 games. That probably takes Mike Williams off the market, I would think, or at least
I would think.
Yeah.
However, let's get on this road real quick because I think the Jets, Dolphins, Bengals, and the Jets have the benefit of playing tonight.
Yes.
I think if you lose this week, you're sellers. I mean, they're all 2-win teams. I know Tua's back, but I mean, that's quite the whole. I don't even know what they would sell.
Yeah.
But if I'm the Jets and I lose tonight,
It's done.
give me whatever you want from Mike Williams. You know what I mean? Some of those type of guys. Like maybe not Sauce and guys like that, of course, but you become sellers, I think, for sure, as a 2-win team after week 9.
Yeah. And no, I don't think they'll be trading Garrett Wilson.
No. I'd call, but I don't think you're going to get them.
Those are foundational pieces. Him, Sauce
That's
Gardner.
Sauce, that's the move, right.
Yeah, you're not going to trade good young players on rookie contracts.
Right.
But, it just could be another wide receiver that is off the market if they do happen to win tonight. They could look at this and go, "Hey, we got a shot here. We're still alive."
Yeah, and I could understand that, especially if you're like Miami. It's like, well, we understood what held us back, and now we have Tua back.
The problem for Miami is they're at Buffalo this weekend, and they gave one away last week against Arizona.
They won't think this way too, but as it gets chillier and chillier, they get worse and worse too.
Yeah.
Like they have to put money in the bank early in the season, and there was no bank.
There's nothing there.
I mean, I mentioned them because they're all AFC teams. Because if you do win, that 7th spot doesn't look that hard to get to.
No,
you know what I
mean.
You're
right.
It's not like the Saints are already a seller, even if Carr comes back. To me, I mean, that's how I would view it.
But I don't think they're trading Olave for the same reason that Wilson's not getting traded.
Agreed. Again, I would call, but they shouldn't be. That shouldn't be the type of player they're moving. But they have so many contract problems or so many contract and cap issues in New Orleans. Maybe just get picks for your next quarterback and totally blow it up. I don't know.
Well, you're right about the situation in the AFC. Because right now the 7 seed in the AFC are the 4-3 Chargers.
That's not a massive speed bump.
They're at Cleveland this week.
Yeah.
Now, they have an easy schedule.
They do.
But much like the Bengals, so the Bengals' strength of victory is 208.
I think the Bengals are the 15 seed.
They're 9 now. They won last week.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Or 2 weeks ago. They're 3
they
and
terrible tiebreak.
They're 3-5.
Okay.
But they're 1-3 in conference. Their strength of victory though is 208. So they beat the bad teams. They lose to all the good ones.
Yeah. Wow, 208 is really low.
208 is the second lowest in the league. The only team that has a lower. No, it is the lowest. I'm sorry, the Jets. The Jets are at 200.
They're an amazing team to me, because they're talented.
Yeah.
They've only beaten Junko teams.
So
right?
are the Bengals.
So are the Bengals.
These are two teams that really,
like on paper, I don't think the Jets have as many holes as Cincy.
Yeah,
like Cincy's whole defense is bad,
trash.
Bad. You know, right?
Trash.
Right. I mean, they got but they have a quarterback though.
Yeah,
I mean, they have quarterbacks playing really well.
But if you can't beat good teams, all you can beat is the slappies. You're probably slappy.
Yeah, right. Again, all three of those teams to me are in the exact same boat. High expectations. It's not your year if you just want to be kind. There could be reasons for it. Your seat should be kind of warm. I don't know if Miami's is, but you end up with 2 wins, past Halloween. I think you're open for business.
Yeah. So I mean, I do think that you need to look at those kind of things as well. Like, who are these teams beating? And like, okay. Like the Chargers are kind of in the same boat. The Chargers' strength of victory is 313.
They very much seem like a team to me that beats bad teams, loses good teams.
Yeah,
and that makes them an average team.
Yeah, they're but for them, they've got one of the easiest schedules in the league.
That's going to work in their favor.
It's going to work in their favor,
and they might get in and lose to a good team in the playoffs.
Denver's the same way. Denver's
similar.
Denver's winning percent. They got 5 wins. The strength of victory is 275.
Yeah,
they beat the slappies really and they lose to the good teams.
Yeah, and there's a lot of slappies.
Yeah,
and I know the Steelers haven't played a very difficult schedule. I mean, by any metric you want to look. But there's so many bad teams; it's hard to avoid them.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
But they have beaten some teams. They beat Denver.
Yeah.
They beat Atlanta.
Yeah,
they beat some good teams.
Their strength of victory is much better.
Yeah. Some of these teams though. Yeah. Buffalo's strength of victory is 326.
They only have 2
and they just
losses,
beat Seattle.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, you're talking about the winning percentage of the teams they beat.
The winning percentage of the teams you beat.
Because I originally said that. I'm like, boy, anything in the 20s is really low.
Really low.
And you've mentioned 4 teams that are 30% or under. Again, there's so many bad teams.
There's a lot of bad teams,
so
particularly in the AFC. Now, that will change as the season goes on here, and some of these teams will win some games and some.
I just wonder in the league, has the bad teams not played the bad teams?
Well, I think that happens this weekend.
Okay, there is some of that coming
again,
up. Right.
some of that strength of victory will change. But, I mean, there are fewer of those teams. Like, there's
like 8 junk.
There's 3 teams in the NFC with 2 or fewer wins.
Okay, yeah.
In the AFC, there are.
I think there's 3 bad teams in the NFC. Saints, Giants, Panthers.
There are 7 teams in the AFC with
so
2 or fewer wins. 2 or fewer.
Again, but I'm not even sure Cincy's
3-5.
Oh, they're 3. I keep thinking they're a 2-win team.
They're 9th right now in the conference standings at 3-5.
But I still think the Jets and Dolphins are much better than the Titans and Panthers of the world. But their record doesn't reflect it.
But the reality doesn't reflect that.
Right.
Yeah. Miami's strength of victory is 250.
Wow. Okay.
They've only beaten the bad teams.
The bad teams.
So I don't know. I mean, some of these teams are going to look at this a little bit differently.
Yeah.
Based on some of this stuff. And okay, right now the 7th seed in the AFC has 4 wins. Can we get to 4? Can we make up 2 games? Yeah, we can make up 2 games.
Yeah, I guess if you look at it that way. I mean, like any other sport, we're 2 games back. Oh, we'll get it back.
Yeah.
So maybe there's fewer sellers than you think. But, boy, I mean, we get that packet every week. I mean, a 2-win team this late.
Doesn't make it.
They never make it.
No.
Never, ever. I mean, the AFC looks so soft, though. I could just see the Jets, Dolphins, Bengals talking themselves into being contenders when you really
because they were in it this year. They were in it to win it this year.
Yeah.
The Cowboys are an example of that in the NFC. They're the 13th seed right now in the NFC, but they're 3-4.
Yeah. I mean, they haven't
So are
lived up
they
to
in it,
expectations.
or are they not in it?
I don't know who in the NFC would be sellers besides those three. I mean, Giants.
I mean, the Giants should be.
Giants, Panthers, Saints.
Yeah.
I think they have
They're
no
they're the
chance.
two or few, the three teams with 2 or fewer wins.
And there's so many good teams ahead of them.
That's
to
the
get
thing.
to the top 7.
I mean, the 7 seed right now in the NFC is 5-2.
Okay. I mean, it's so much stronger.
Yeah.
And they're much better teams than the Chargers.
Yeah. The Falcons are in right. Well, the Cardinals right now are the NFC West leaders at 4-4.
Yeah, but the Niners are also 4-4.
But you got the Packers in at 6-2, the Vikings at 5-2, and the Eagles at 5-2.
And the whole North is strong.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in the AFC, I think there's only 5 good teams.
Yeah.
And Houston's a dog tonight. I'm considering them one of the 5 teams.
Right now, how about this? Denver is ahead of Baltimore in the playoff standings in the AFC.
They have a better record, right?
They're both 5-3.
They're both 5-3. Okay.
They play each other this weekend. You could bill that as a big game, but Denver's like a 9-point underdog at Baltimore.
Yeah. I mean, the reality of how good the teams are is very, very different. Like, I don't know if Denver's better than the Jets or Miami today or Cincy. You know? What about the Colts? I mean, I assume the Colts are looking at this like, we're going to go to Flacco because we have a really good shot.
They should have gone to Flacco last week, and they probably beat Houston.
Probably. I'm not sure if Houston's good.
That's the thing.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know if they're
I can't
good.
believe that they're a dog tonight.
Right.
Yeah,
they're an underdog at the 2-6 Jets.
They're on a
Think about
5-game
that.
losing streak.
The 6-2 AFC South leading team is an underdog at 2-6.
Now, I get that they don't have
New York.
Diggs or Nico. That affects things, and it's a short week on a Thursday night. But you should be much better than that team.
Yeah.
And they're not. Neither one of them. Both those teams tonight, I think, are missing something. It's just not. Something's not clicking.
Yeah, for sure.
And a lot of it's O-line.
And then you look at this. Did you see Lamar, who was supposedly resting yesterday, Lamar Jackson, missed practice again today?
Yeah, you said he has 2 ailments now.
Yeah, it's back in the knee.
Yeah. I mean, they could lose without him.
And they play, I believe.
Denver, you said, right?
They're playing Denver, yeah, which is a good defense.
It's going to be it's going to be a tough game, yeah.
They then play, I think, is it a short week this week? Yeah, they play the Bengals on Thursday night.
Wow. So what if he misses 2?
Right.
You know, for the quick turnaround. Or do you rest him this week so you definitely get him in the Bengal game?
Then you're starting Josh Johnson.
I don't think you rest him ever.
No.
I mean, they're not in that luxury. I mean, they're going to make the playoffs in the AFC, though. I mean, so they're a little different. I mean, every win is not life or death for them. I mean, they at least have something in the
But they
bank.
can't afford to lose. I mean, do they want to be wild cards?
Of course not.
No.
But you can't risk Lamar getting further hurt.
They're also 5-3 right now.
Yeah.
They when people have talked in previous years about the Steelers, well, they lost it like last year. They lose a game to the Cardinals and the Patriots. Yes, that kept them from winning the division.
Sure.
That's the Ravens right now.
Yeah, except there are 2 different times of the season. It's not a bad 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, it was
They
early
lost
in
to the
season.
Raiders at home.
Yeah.
And you can't
And the
lose
Browns,
those games.
right.
Can't lose those games.
No, you can't. But everyone does.
Right. Everybody
You know,
does.
That's what a lot of our
Steelers
listeners
fans
don't
just
seem
see
to
it when
get
it
right.
happens to their team, but nobody goes. The Chiefs aren't going to go 17-0, I should say.
No, we're going to look back at their season and be like, how did they lose to the Colts? Or how did they lose to Jacksonville? Or somebody like that, you know? I mean,
They
it
lost
won't
to
be that-
Denver last year. They lost to the Raiders last year.
Yeah. I mean, they're not
And
gonna
then won
lose
the Super Bowl.
They're not going to lose the Panthers, but they're going to lose
Yeah.
to somebody. That's
Somebody.
Like, well, how did you lose that one?
And that's the other. So some of the if you look at some of the point differentials across the league, like Washington's just ahead of Pittsburgh right now in point differential.
It's like 1 point difference or whatever, right?
Yeah. The difference for the teams who are very high in point differential, other than like the Lions, some of the other teams, they played Carolina.
Play Carolina. Yeah. That's a huge
Everybody
boost.
wins by 20 against
And
Carolina.
they're all big boosts to your plus minus.
Yeah.
And any metric you want to look at, of course. I mean, they're a distant 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Like, we can have a conversation about who's 31, but they're a distant 30 seconds.
Yeah, Carolina's got a minus 147
They're
point
gonna end
differential.
up at like minus 250.
They're losing. That means they're losing games by an average of about 20 points a game.
That's a normal Sunday for them. They have a win, though. Yeah.
They have a win.
And one of those was not a 20-point loss.
Yeah, but they're almost averaging a 20-point loss. Who did they beat? They beat the Raiders. Well, there you go.
Somebody terrible, yeah.
Yeah.
That was Dalton's first game.
Yes.
Which adds up. That was definitely at their peak of the season. Could they end up with like a minus 250 point differential?
Well, they definitely could.
That has to be a record.
I mean, right now the Raiders are 2-6, but they're only minus 66.
Yeah, they've been competitive.
Yeah. Carolina's at minus 147.
Yeah.
Like, there's nobody within.
And they're going to trade off any piece they can.
The next closest one to them are the Patriots at minus 73.
Yeah, they at least play close games.
Yeah.
Muck it up, and they don't get blown out every week.
Minus 147 halfway through the season.
I
You're on pace to be minus 300 for the season.
Are we going to have the most coaching changes ever, too?
Ooh. We might see coaching changes next week.
I mean, Jacksonville, I'm not sure if 2 weeks ago, the first of their doubleheader in Europe, if that would have been the States, I don't know that he would have coached the next one.
Yeah.
I don't think the Saints have any chance.
They're at Philadelphia this week. They're not winning that game.
That's coming soon.
Yeah.
That's coming soon. I mean, because the thing is, all these AFC teams, Cleveland, Cincy, Jets, Jags, there were high expectations.
Yeah.
Miami. I think Miami's probably safe.
Yeah. The problem with Jacksonville, Christian Kirk was a guy that we were looking at going, that's a guy I would target because they're out of it. Well, now he's hurt. And Brian Thomas is hurt. They don't have any receivers to trade now.
All of a sudden, right? Yeah. I mean, teams have been through cluster injuries all over. Steelers dealt with it at the end of last year.
They dealt with it some this year.
And that's an excuse.
Yeah.
But, like, the Jags seat should have been hot after 4 games. You know, I mean,
it was.
Yeah, it was. It was.
Yeah. But, this will be a big week because some teams are going to figure out if they're in it or not. And the trade deadline is next weekend.
And we're basically at the midpoint.
Yeah.
So I like the deadlines this late because I know a couple years ago it was earlier and you really wouldn't know anything. I mean, so many. I mean, at least now I think you got a pretty good clue. If you have 2 or fewer, sell.
Yeah. I mean, so November 5th is the trade deadline. So that's next Tuesday.
Upcoming Tuesday, yeah.
So you could see some teams start to, they're going to know, like, we're either in it or we're not, and they're going to make that decision. But one of the things, like Barnwell had an article today on ESPN.com about, these teams need to sell. These teams, like, this isn't baseball. This isn't hockey. This isn't the NBA.
No, you don't just stick a right fielder in there and, they never met anyone on his team and he's fine.
Yeah.
That's the nice thing about Steelers bye being now, though, too. If you do add somebody, you got a lot more time to get them revved up.
Well, if you made the trade now.
Soon, yeah. I mean, if
you make it next Tuesday, it doesn't do you any good.
You're in the same boat as everybody else, right? Yeah, it does take some. The other thing, too, is some of these rentals are only going to be for like 8 games.
Right.
Like they gave nothing up for Deontay, but they're only going to get, how much will they get out of him this week? Then you maybe get 7 more, and you hope the playoffs. So it's a buyer's market, I think, is my point.
Yeah.
I don't. Anyone that's been traded in the last week or so has gone for less than I expected. Now, could a Wilson or a Lave or someone that's actually Garrett or Crosby, I mean, those guys would get big stuff that don't have expiring contracts or young.
Well, and that's one of the reasons why Kirk was interesting to me is that he was under contract for a reasonable price moving forward. But
we actually had kind of a funny conversation on the podcast today that it's so easy to forget what a week-to-week league this is. So we watched the Rams 1 week ago. That was Thursday night.
Yeah.
Oh, Cup's back. They're not trading anybody. If they go to Seattle and lose by 20, but better trade Cup. You know what I mean? Like, it's over.
Yeah.
Like, the perception changes so quick with just one game.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's something to keep an eye on this week as Steeler fans. Who loses this weekend? They're really
solidified.
You've got 6 or 7 losses now. You're not in it.
Yeah. And I know everyone's focused on receivers, but there's a lot of other positions you could probably pick up a cheap some kind of Band-Aid. For a 7th-round pick.
Yeah.
Futures,
for the Bengals, Burrow's talking this week. Well, we probably need to go 7-2 down the stretch. Well, if you lose this weekend, now you need to go 7-1.
Right?
Yeah, you're really gonna go 7-1? I don't think so.
Probably not.
Yeah.
But 7 teams in the AFC are going to the playoffs.
7 will.
And if you're playing as well as anyone, you could still win it all.
Absolutely. Let's get to a break. He is the Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley, and you're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. Matt and I will be back with more right after this. And we are back. I'm Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson, and this is The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network. And, of course, you can hear The Drive every Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. right here on Steelers Nation Radio, wherever you get those downloads at. We would encourage you to download the Steelers mobile app. That way it just shows up right on your phone, and you can also watch the show on YouTube.
Yes, good stuff.
Leave us some comments. Apparently,
speaking of being a video, there were some things kicked around on Halloween that maybe we put skeletons here, or we'd switch jobs with these two jabronis over here, and they could fill in, and we could push the buttons, but we just played it straight, you know.
At the end of the day, we're still primarily a podcast, so most people can't see us. So
right.
Putting on a costume.
The majority of our shenanigans wouldn't have gone too far. Right.
And we're scary looking enough as it is.
Right.
You're not supposed to laugh at that, Justin. Come on.
He's still pretty and young over there.
Yeah. Matt, Pro Football Focus has put out their mid-season All-Pro team.
Oh, I saw that. I just glanced at it real quick. Let's go over it.
I get some things on here that I want to quibble with. Okay, so the quarterback is Lamar Jackson. No problem with that.
No problem with that.
Running back is...
Do they do runners-up or anything like that?
No, they just list...
Who would your runner-up be?
Goff.
I would say I think Goff would be mine. Yeah. I also saw they put out their who's has the best. Lamar's not their highest ranked.
Yes.
It's actually Burrow.
Yeah.
But I still think Goff would be my 2.
Yeah. I mean, he's having a tremendous
Allen
season.
Would be in the conversation, too.
Yeah.
Less has been asked of him.
Goff in the month of October had like 12 incompletions.
I know.
It's unbelievable. The ball doesn't hit the ground.
Doesn't hit the ground. Allen doesn't throw picks anymore, though.
He has one this month.
Yeah, I know. But they would be the 3 for me.
Yeah.
But it's Lamar.
Running back Derrick Henry.
Yes.
That's pretty simple.
Saquon's the only competitor.
Yeah. And Saquon's not catching the ball like he usually would in New York, so I think that's kind of the separator. Like if he had the same rushing yardage that he has now, but he has 25 or 30 catches like he normally does.
Which Henry wouldn't.
Yeah.
I mean, he never does. It's actually why I regret it now. He's having an awesome year, but that's why I shied away from Saquon, because Hurts doesn't throw to running back.
Yeah.
You know,
he also doesn't get the touchdown runs because they got to
tush push him and right.
Yeah, it's mad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're the top 2.
Wide receivers. Nico Collins and Justin Jefferson.
Nico would have clearly been 1, but I think he's missed too much time to put him on a midseason one.
Yeah.
Like if he comes back next week and gives you 12 games, okay, he could be a all-pro. But I don't know if you miss 50% of the time, you're deserved.
I hear you.
You know, he's been unbelievable, though.
I mean, realistically, Chris Godwin would be the guy.
Yeah,
but now he's
starting to get down that road, too.
Now he's hurt, so
there isn't a standout.
No.
It's not there's Tyreek,
a bunch of guys who've been good, but there's been some ups and downs here.
And I mean, a lot of this is fantasy related for these positions, but like it was Lamb, it was Jefferson, Chase, Tyreek. Those were your early picks. And Jefferson's the only one you'd say is
he's the one
an all-pro
that's been consistently good.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. Tight end George Kittle.
I think that's pretty clear. He's been really, really good, and he blocks.
That's the difference.
That's the difference, right?
So many people get caught up in the tight end catches.
Mm-hmm.
Like Brock Bowers is a tremendous receiving tight end.
He would be the runner-up for me, though.
But he didn't block anybody.
He doesn't even line up in line.
No.
You know, like the Niners do a lot with Kittle.
Kittle's the best all-around tight end in the NFL.
I really think him and Kelsey, to me, are almost equal players in terms of career. I know Kelsey has the numbers.
Yeah.
But what Kittle's asked to do is more difficult.
It's the Heath Miller argument.
Right. And frankly, one of the best football players I've ever seen is Rob Gronkowski.
Yeah.
For that reason, because he's 270.
Right.
But
those guys were asked to block a lot.
That's what
That's
I mean.
why, to
There's
me,
no answer.
When Heath Miller retired, he was like number 10 all-time in tight end catches.
Yeah.
Receptions for a tight end. But he never got that kind of...
No, right.
But he was consistently right around 60 catches every year, and he blocked.
And he's consistent in all phases, too.
Yeah. But everybody fell in love with the Shannon Sharps and the Tony Gonzalez's who never blocked anybody.
Which are great. Those are all tremendous weapons.
They're great players.
I mean, Kelsey's the perfect example. I would draft Gronk over Kelsey every day of the week, and I think he's
just a better all-around football player.
Best tight end ever, easily for me.
Yeah.
And there was no answer.
The flex position, which is kind of cheating, Jamar Chase.
Okay. Yeah. He hasn't been a world beater, though.
No.
I'm not sure who I'd pick.
The offensive line from left to right, Tristan Wirfs at left tackle.
Yes, and that Bucks line, I've been digging into.
Playing well.
Like as well as anyone in the league all of a sudden, yeah.
The interior guys are all three Chiefs. Thuney, Humphrey, Trey Smith. I have a hard time believing that.
That's kind of benefiting from one another, too.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with any one of those picks.
No, they're all good players on their own, but you can't tell me that all three of them are the best guys, regardless. Like,
it sounds, a little crazy.
Yeah.
Quentin Nelson's been really, really good this year.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think who else would be in the conversation. Ragnow, but he missed a little time. Linderbaum's not at that level yet. I mean, I think Humphrey.
Linderbaum's not as good. He's slipping a little bit.
Power's always been an issue. I mean, he's not for
he's
every
just not
scheme.
big enough. Yeah,
he's not for every scheme.
Anyways,
I would have Quentin Nelson in there.
Penei Sewell is the right tackle.
Okay. I mean, usually that's a fight between like him and Lane Johnson.
Yeah.
Johnson missed
time.
You're out of luck.
Defensively, your edge rushers, Aiden Hutchinson, T.J. Watt.
I think it still has to be Hutchinson.
Yeah.
It won't be for the year.
It won't be for the year.
If we do it at the three-quarter mark, no.
He's
but
fallen
he's done
off,
enough that he's still at the top of the league in sacks.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm with that.
Interior defensive linemen.
They take two here?
Yes.
Because I think there's three candidates.
Cam Hayward, Dexter Lawrence.
I would have Chris Jones as my third.
Here's the thing with Chris Jones, though. He does not play the run at all.
No.
Not at all. He's strictly a pass rusher.
Right. And they'll line him up outside the tackle. He lines up wherever he wants.
Whereas Hayward and Lawrence are better all-around players in terms of
they do more.
More well-rounded, I should say.
I 100% agree.
Jones is the best pure pass rusher of the group.
I think he's the most disruptive.
Yeah.
If it's 3rd and 8, there's no one I
better
want to
block
feel
him.
more than him, But also, it's not like he can't play the run. I mean, if it's a Super Bowl and it's 1st and 10,
but I hold that against him. If you don't play the run because all you want to do is rush the passer, I'm going to hold that against you. I do.
Well, especially when you're talking about elite versus elite.
Yeah.
It's not him versus Ogunjobi.
Yeah, Joe Slappy.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we're talking about the best two on the planet right now.
That gives these two guys the edge over him.
I would pick those two as well, but I think there's only 3 candidates. And part of it's just a Chiefs thing, though. Like, Kelsey, you don't need to run every route 100% either. You know what I mean? Like, we'll be okay. Save it for when we need it, and maybe we'll three-peat.
Linebacker.
Got to be Warner.
They picked 2. Warner's 1. Who would your second be? Because this one's a little surprising to me because this defense is awful.
It's not Roquan. I mean, I think he's going into this year, I would have said he's the second best linebacker.
Yeah.
This isn't an easy one just to come up off the top of your head with either.
They went with Logan Wilson.
Ooh, I don't know. I mean, I haven't studied every snap of Logan Wilson, of course, but Bobby Wagner's having a really good year.
Yeah. There's some other guys out there that.
Yeah.
I mean, even a guy like an EJ Speed, I know he makes a lot of plays.
He makes a lot of plays. Another name from a division on a bad team, I don't know if they're a bad defense, but Owusu Koromora's had a really good year too.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not a bad defense. There's a bad team.
Yeah.
The Bengals are a bad defense, and he's the leader of the.
He's the leader of the bad defense. Yeah. I can't put any Bengals on my.
Yeah, I'm
first
sure he
team
grades
All-Pro.
well for them, but that's
Great.
the weakest one so far for sure.
Cornerbacks: Zion McCollum, Marlon Humphrey.
Wow. Surtain missed a little time, but he's still awesome.
Yeah.
I'm sure their numbers are goofy.
Their numbers are very goofy. As I pointed out last
make no
week,
sense to me at all.
They had Joey Porter as their 89th rated cornerback in the league going into last week's game.
Insanity.
Every one of the Ravens cornerbacks was rated ahead of all the Steeler cornerbacks. And Baltimore has the league's worst pass defense.
It's the worst pass defense in the league, I know, right.
So it doesn't add up.
It doesn't add up.
Now, they did just bench the safety.
Marcus Williams.
Marcus Williams got
shocked
benched.
me, right.
But he can't be the only problem there.
No, I think he's a little bit of a scapegoat there. I mean, he's more of the Minka, and I don't think he's making up for anything.
Nothing, yeah.
And I think he's also the communicator, which their communication's been
awful.
terrible. I mean, that's most of the problem. There's no 2 corners I'd take ahead of Sauce and Surtain, though.
No.
Actually, Stingley is now there with those. I'm trying to spitball off the top of my head, but Stingley would be a Pro Bowler for me this year. Or an All-Pro.
It's safety. Xavier McKinney. He leads the league in interceptions.
Yeah, he's been great.
And Brian Branch.
Good.
Yeah.
Yep, I think Branch is in that. So this is funny. Like, everyone remembers that draft. There were 31 picks in the first round. Steelers had picked number 32, and they took Joey Porter. Great. And, of course, we were on the air for the draft.
We both loved Brian Branch.
And when asked, I know the hot pick was, who would you take here? Is it Porter? Is it slam dunk? I'm like, I would take Brian Branch. Now, I'm not saying I'd trade Porter for Branch straight up.
Yeah.
But he's exactly who we thought he was going to be, if not more. Like, he should have never been a second round
He's
pick.
great in the slot. He can actually play safety as well.
He's done more
people argue with me, well, he
year.
can only play in the slot. I don't know about that. He's a pretty good safety as well.
He's a great safety.
Yeah.
I mean, last year he was a slot. This year he's a safety, and he's one of the best in the league.
He's kind of made the Minka transition.
Yeah, exactly.
Minka played a lot in the slot as a rookie.
Do it all, smart, tough. There's a lot of similarities. I mean,
Yeah.
he doesn't play deep middle as much as Minka, but Minka doesn't have to play deep middle either.
Right.
I would consider Hamilton, but I think those are the best two picks.
Their flex position on defense is DJ Reed.
You can't put Minka, but he's done nothing wrong.
Right.
Like, I get asked every day, I'm sure you do too, what happened to Minka? He doesn't make any big plays. Well, he's 18 yards off the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
He made a big play the other night on a third down pass where he broke it up. I mean, he didn't get an interception on the play, but he broke it up.
Mm-hmm.
He broke up the play that he got fined for against the Raiders. Was it a Raider? Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was a great play. And, you just don't get credit for this.
Yeah. He just allows everyone. I mean, Elliott's a really good player, but he would not be doing what he was doing without Minka.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's benefited from him.
The specialists. I'm going to save the one that I had the biggest problem with for last. This one's really interesting. The punt returner. Felipe Franks with the Panthers. Now,
Boy, doesn't get many opportunities.
Felipe Franks is a former college quarterback
Yeah.
who then got shifted to tight end in the NFL.
Yeah. I didn't even know he returned
I didn't know
punts.
he was a punt returner. I'm looking at this, I'm going, Felipe Franks, he's like 250 pounds.
They don't make anybody punt.
And they never make anybody punt. But he's like 250 pounds.
I think that's who we're talking about,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. I mean, like, I've never seen a punt returner built like that. He's like he's like Logan Thomas.
I want to see what they list him at. 6'6", 234.
Okay, yeah, he's like tight end
Former
type. Yeah,
quarterback. He's returning punts, apparently.
good for him. I mean, he was a really good athlete.
I don't know how many he's returned, but
Right.
enough for
I'll take their word on that one, that he's good. But that's strange. I'm going to have to go look at that.
might be the biggest punt returner in NFL history.
I might have to just like
There
YouTube
can't have
it.
ever been a guy 6'6" returning punts.
No. I mean, that's weird.
But he's always been great with the ball in his hands.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like, athletically, he's good with the ball in his hand.
Arthur Smith had him in Atlanta.
I mean, you could convince me he would have been the kickoff returner.
Yeah,
You know?
that would have made more sense.
Right. I mean, he's like Anthony Richardson.
In fact, the kick returner is Khalif Raymond with the Lions, who is a little dude.
Yeah, he is a little dude. He's not a typical kickoff returner, but
I can't believe it's not the guy from the Cowboys.
he's been great too.
Yeah.
I mean, but Raymond just recently had a couple big returns.
But that was a punt return.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I don't have a comment on any of those. I mean,
Just shocked by
kicker's
that.
one that I can kind of comment on, but
Yeah.
the other ones I don't know.
The punter is A.J. Cole with the Raiders.
He's always one of the best.
Yeah, he's good. The kicker, Brandon Aubrey.
I'd say Aubrey's the only one I'd consider over
Here's the
Boswell,
thing.
but his numbers aren't as good.
So if you look at Pro Football Focus's grades on
How do they
kickers,
grade kickers?
this is what I don't know, and this is why this is baffling to me. They have Brandon Aubrey on field goals and extra points graded at 94.6.
Okay.
Then it's Kai Fairbairn at 92.5. Chad Ryland with the Cardinals is 90.9. Chris Boswell's at 90.4. He's missed one flipping kick all year long,
So every time
and it
he's-
was 62 yards.
Every time he swings his leg, it goes through the uprights. Like, how do you not get a 99 out of 100?
You have to hit it perfectly down the middle, or you don't get a good grade on
we
it?
putting weather involved here, I mean, like, I don't know how they could possibly.
I
grade
have
kickers.
no idea.
Do they have special teams coach that says his form's not good? Who cares if it goes through the uprights?
I don't understand how you grade kickers and you
If you want to grade their kickoff now, I could kind of maybe get that.
that's not even part of it. That's just on
that's
field
I
goals
know,
and
that's
extra
just putting it
points.
through the uprights. I think Aubrey's probably the best kicker in the league if it's not Boz. So I had no problem with that. But that's bizarro world.
Before the Steelers played the Cowboys, they both had one miss each.
Yeah, I remember.
And I went back and looked where Aubrey's was from because
It wasn't from 62.
It was like
Right.
51 yards.
Yeah, which everyone misses those here and there.
Boswell missed a 62-yarder.
Right.
He's got his.
No one has a better resume.
I don't understand that. I am just at a loss.
I don't understand how you give grades for putting it between the uprights. It's either a yes or a no.
Right.
It's not a C+ or a B-.
No.
Right.
No.
We'll give him a B- on that one because it didn't go right down the middle.
You would have a hard time convincing me that Chris Boswell hasn't been the best kicker in the league right now.
Agreed.
He's won the AFC Special Teams Player of the Month 2 months in a row.
Mm-hmm.
He had 46 points last month. He didn't miss a kick.
Yeah. I know he's not the only one, but he's on pace to make the most field goals in NFL history.
Yeah. The other guy's a guy with Washington.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they scored a ton of points, too.
But he's missed 2 kicks.
Yeah.
And he's nowhere in their top. I'm looking here.
I guess we missed a couple. You can't be in the top 10.
Seibert's not even listed among their top 20 guys. Where the heck is he at? He's not even listed here. Oh, there he is. He's like number 15. He's missed 2 kicks.
And he's going to put the ball between the uprights.
And his grade's 75.4.
What'd he do wrong?
I don't know.
I mean, even if those 2 kicks were from 10 yards, who cares?
There are guys on here who have like 3 kicks all season. Like Nick Folk with the Titans has made like 16 or 17 in a row. But he never kicks any 50-yarders.
I would say he's a Vinatieri guy.
Yeah.
Like they never test him. Yeah.
Right. I mean,
win me this game from 58. You know.
I just don't understand it. Again, it's another Pro Football Focus grade that makes absolutely no sense to me.
Corners I've always highly questioned / doubted. I didn't even know there was a kicker grade.
I had no idea either until I happened to look at it. I'm like, wow, they grade kickers?
Punters I could understand. Returners I can understand that there's some formula that would make sense. Not the one that I could create. But kickers is a yes-no business.
It's not that difficult. Did the ball go through the uprights or did it not?
Right. It's not even like balls and strikes where you might throw a ball on purpose. Like you're never going to miss on purpose. You're never going to, does ganking it off the upright
and
count
it doesn't
better
take
than
the
missing
kickoffs into account.
Right. I don't understand how the logic of that works at all.
Not one bit.
But I don't have a problem with Aubrey being the one. He's the only one I'd be like, boy, that dude stands out as a great kicker.
But I don't understand how his grade is 94.6 and Boswell's at 90. Like he's been 4.2 points better on their grading system than Boswell.
I don't understand how Boswell's not a 98.
Right.
I mean, he's done one thing wrong, and it's the hardest thing you can do.
And he's like, we got, 8 of 9 from beyond 50 yards?
Like, what do you think the league-wide percentage on 62-yarders are?
I'm betting it's 10. Not real good.
Yeah. I mean, it's way under 50.
By the way, Justin Tucker's grade?
I bet he's really low.
69.2.
How many's he missed so far? I don't think he tries the 60s anymore.
No, they don't even try.
The 50s are terrible.
He's 3 for his last 10 over the last 2 seasons from 50 and beyond. Just 50 and beyond.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he might.
I think he's missed 4 kicks.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. He's not the weapon that he used to be.
No.
That could come into play for them.
He's not only is he declining, but the level of kicking around the league is growing.
Everybody else has gotten better,
fast,
and he's gone the other way.
Where Boz seems to be getting better.
Yeah.
Tucker's how many years older than Boz?
None. He's 34.9.
I know Boz is older than you think.
Boswell is 33.6. So there's only It's not that.
Has he been in the league longer?
It's about a year's difference. Yeah.
By 2 years or so.
It took Boswell a couple of years to finally
big hook on.
Yeah.
And he came out of college.
His first real season was 2015.
Okay.
So.
Yeah.
But he
should probably be.
He's as good as anybody.
He's better than everybody.
Better than most everybody.
Aubrey, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And plus, Fairbairn and Koo, I mean.
They kick indoors.
Well,
Aubrey does too.
Yeah, he does.
They kick indoors.
At least their division has some elements. But that's only 3 games.
Right. Anyways, that was the Pro Football Focus All-Pro team. Felipe Franks is returning punts.
I need to go look. I got to go pull that up.
I got to see what.
I just want to see what it looks like. Yeah, I have not studied the.
No, I haven't.
Panthers special.
The Steelers don't play the Panthers, and the Panthers are a tough watch.
Well, there's 32 teams, and they each have 3 phases. That would be my least phase to ever turn on. Is the Panthers special teams? They're number 96.
Let alone their punt return.
Let alone punt return. There's 3 of them.
He is Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. Matt and I will be back with more right after this. Welcome back to The Drive. I'm Danny Smith. You can't see me on the podcast right now, but I have a big wad in my mouth right now that I'm chewing on here because I want to be Danny Smith.
It's good.
Everybody wants to be Danny Smith right now.
I don't blame him. I mean, he is flying high. Brutal being a coach in this league, though. Like, Boswell misses one field goal, you're a terrible special teams coach. You start doing things well, you walk on water. And he should. He's been awesome. The team loves him. He's very personable. He's tremendous at his job. And they are on fire on special teams right now.
They are on fire. And there's been a reason why. I don't know how he talks with that much gum in his mouth, but
I assume he does during the game. He doesn't just point and yell. Right.
Screams and yells.
Yeah. Special teams coaches are a different breed, too.
They always are. I can remember going over before the Steelers built the facility on the south side, where it's at now. They had the fields were laid out over there.
So they knew it was coming?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And they wanted to practice on grass, so they would bus over to those fields. It's just an empty field in the wintertime.
Okay.
It's cold.
Yeah.
And the special teams coach at the time was the oh God, I can't think of his name. He became the Florida head coach. He was head coach at Illinois as well.
Trying to think of that time frame because that was right before I got hired by Pitt.
It wasn't Bobby April. It was
the facility was very new when I was working there.
Anyways,
okay.
Special teams. He's out there in shorts and a t-shirt. It's 20 degrees and the wind's blowing across that area because there were no buildings at all.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure it's windy and it's freezing down there.
You're right on the river.
Right.
Yeah. And he's out there for 2 hours just running around like a maniac.
Yeah.
Special teams coaches are all maniacs. Every one of them.
I think anyone listening could point out a special teams coach and an offensive line coach.
Yes.
They're big.
Yeah.
They probably were a lineman at some point. It's such a technique-driven world. Our Pitt line coach, Tom Freeman, was one of the funniest human beings I ever met. And he's like, we're like mushrooms. They just keep us in the dark and they feed us poop. Just be quiet. Go down there and do your thing. And they're all burly and they all have you can walk in an O-line meeting room or the staff watching tape together. The O-line coach has something filthy on his body. He's got rips in his shirt. He's got a chew-in that's dripping out of his mouth, and he's eating a hoagie in the other hand, and they're just all the same.
Yeah.
And that's the way it works. Special team coach is the opposite. They're the Energizer Bunny.
They are he's 70 years old.
Yeah, and he'll be like that when he's 90.
70 years old, and he still runs around like a maniac. Watching him at practice,
let alone a game, right?
Yeah. It's just crazy. And again, every one of them have been like that.
It's a high-energy position.
Yeah.
Where linemen are out there snap after snap. They don't check out, Anthony Richardson.
No.
They play every snap, and they have to be consistent and technically sound and tough. Where special teamer is, let's light my hair on fire and run down the kick, and then I might not do it again for an hour.
Yeah. And the other thing about special teams coaches, Matt, is that unlike regular position coaches, they have to deal with the whole roster.
Yes.
And they hold team meetings.
They don't deal with quarterbacks.
But,
right. But still, everybody goes there. A lot of special teams coaches go on to be strong head coaches because they can talk to all phases. The other thing, and we've talked about this several times, but we get new listeners, they steal starters from you sometimes.
Yes.
They might cut your starting wing or your starting gunner, because a tight end got hurt, or we need to pick a center up off the Chiefs practice squad. So, Danny, you lose. We just cut one of your starters. Nobody cuts an offensive or defensive starter. They can get hurt, but they don't get cut. That dude was one of my starting 11 Sunday, and now he's gone. He's not even on the team.
Yeah. So it
you really have 5 guys you can count on, and that's more than most teams.
I can't believe I can't remember the special teams coach that I'm trying to think of here. That
would have been,
I'm looking it up,
20-some years ago.
Yeah. But anyways, they're just a different breed, and you see, when people would kind of try to rip on, can't believe their special teams was, how did they screw that up? I know for a fact Danny Smith does as much homework, if not more, than anybody else, any other coach on that. He gives these guys, and he makes it for the entire team, a tape on Tuesday that he calls a Saturday tape.
Okay.
That
he calls it a Saturday tape?
Because they go over it on Saturday. He gives it to them on Tuesday because he puts together.
Go learn this. This is your homework.
Yeah, this is your homework.
Okay, this is the curriculum.
This is what we're going to talk about. Now, they work on those things over the course of the week, but the Saturday tape are the highlights of the opponent that he wants we got to get after this.
People might not understand why we talk about Saturday. I assume that's like at the hotel.
That's at the hotel. They watch that tape. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So this is the new kick block I put in, because their guard next to the snapper is particularly weak, or he turns his head to the inside, or whatever, some tendency he sees from the opponent.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. So do your homework, and then Saturday we'll make sure you take the test, basically.
So when guys make mistakes on the field, they don't know the rules or things of that nature. I've seen him coach this stuff up all week long.
Yeah.
And do this all throughout training camp and the OTA sessions. They go over this stuff and over this stuff and over this stuff. Mm-hmm. If a player makes a mistake on the field, or if they have a penalty, that's not the fault of the special teams coach.
Not usually. Yeah. Right.
He didn't tell that guy to block that guy in the back.
Of course.
Or hold that guy.
The other thing that's really interesting to me about special teamers in the NFL is basically none of them did it in high school.
Right.
None, unless they were a kick returner and they were awesome and were also a star receiver or whatever. Few of them did them in college. Like, I think of Benny Snell as a recent example. He was the best player on Kentucky's offense. He was a good SEC running back.
Ron Zook was the guy I was trying to think of.
Okay. Yeah, he was there for a while, right?
Yeah.
And Snell gets the league and realizes, I'm not the best running back on the Steelers. What am I going to do? I have to learn special teams.
Yeah.
Quarterbacks don't have to learn quarterback.
No.
I mean, they get better at it or whatever.
But you were an offensive player. You never tackled anybody.
No, right. I'm sure he played linebacker in 8th grade or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. But these are NFL human beings he's trying to get on there. He's trying to track down Cordero Patterson.
That was one of the things the Steelers talked about when they drafted James Conner, because he had played some defense at Pitt. And they said, Kevin, I can remember Kevin Colbert coming out saying, well, he's going to be basically we're taking as our backup to Le'Veon Bell. While he does that, he can also be really good on special teams because this is a guy who's tackled.
I remember that day.
And then that never happened because he got hurt his rookie year.
I remember that day because when we do the draft live, coaches are always walking right past us, and there's a bunch of us, and neither one of us asks a question. But Mike Tomlin walks right past us, and somebody that we were with, and I don't even remember who it was. I just know it wasn't us. Oh, did you take Connor because he's a good cancer story and he's next door? He's like, no. We don't care about that.
Yeah.
I mean, we want to win football games. I'm not trying to get PR points in Pittsburgh. This isn't yesterday with Jim Wexell with in the 30s they drafted Pittsburgh people so people come to the games.
Guys from Duquesne.
No, they're trying to beat Baltimore.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely. Anyways, let's get to a break here. That's going to do it for hour number 1 of the drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. I'm Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. Actually, I'm Danny Smith. Danny Smith. One more. Anyways, we're not going to do one more minute. We're going to get to a break. We'll be back with more right after this. Welcome back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson, and this is The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network. And you can join former members of the Black and Gold for the Kids Flag Football Clinics at North Strabane Park on Saturday, November 9th. Instructors include Mike Logan and Roosevelt Nix, plus Kayla Pierce from the Pittsburgh Passion. Registration for your school-age child is free. That is free, F-R-E-E.
Good deal.
Hey, you like free. You can go to the calendar page at dve.com to sign up today. Kids Flag Football Clinics are brought to you by U.S. Steel, S&T Bank, Millie's Truck Pittsburgh, and South Hills Auto. Matt, it's time for the Fantasy Football Focus. Let's take a look around the league here. Who is in practice today? Who is out, as I mentioned earlier? Lamar missing a second consecutive day of practice. That is noteworthy.
I'm sure there's a lot of listeners that play fantasy football that only have him on their roster. You might want to think ahead and at least have a backup plan.
Yeah, have something ready to go.
Right.
Tyrone Tracy.
And you wonder, I always say this, but does he finish the game?
Well, he's got a new receiver this week.
Right. That's
he throwing on the side with Deontay Johnson. I don't know.
I think Deontay's not playable for fantasy right now.
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't start him this week.
New team that doesn't throw much has never played with his quarterback, even in practice yet.
Might be just returning punts this week.
And people, you mentioned that on the air too, that he's going to return punts. He was good at it.
Yeah. Tyrone Tracy, who the Steelers just saw.
Yeah,
he had a concussion. Upgraded to limited Thursday, so that's a good sign for him.
That's what you want.
That's what you want. You want him to get through that. Now tomorrow is going to be the big day. Does he get at least another limited tomorrow or a full participation, and then get cleared on probably Saturday to play?
He's much better than Singletary, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I think he's one of the best draft picks out of this class. They're not fantasy even relevant.
Yeah,
I think that he's
6th round draft.
Right.
Yeah,
5th or 6th. Yeah.
So
former receiver, still getting his legs under him, learning.
Absolutely. Brian Robinson Jr. with a hamstring injury, limited at practice on Thursday.
That's a guy I always sell short. I think he's kind of boring, but he's consistent and good too.
Yeah, he's very much the Alabama running backs.
Yeah. Jacobs,
Najee,
they're all
Brian
tough.
Robinson. They're all tough as hell.
Yep.
They all have the same build and makeup and all that stuff. Like, they're all bigger dudes, and they all run hard.
They're all 4 or 5 star recruits.
Yeah.
They all had to work hard to get on the field. Like, I remember, quick story, like when I was at Pitt in recruiting, we recruited the city of Miami heavily.
Yeah.
Antonio Bryant. I mean, we got 10 guys out of there every recruiting class. But we were also in the Big East with the U, and we didn't get any Miami kids away from the U. If they wanted to go to the U, they went to the U. But anyway, we recruited in the same circles.
The U is Miami for you younger people.
Yeah, right. When they were incredible.
When they were great, yeah.
And their spiel was real easy no matter where they recruited. Like, all you have to do is start for us for a year and you'll go to the NFL. So all these 5 stars get there, and then there's like, oh, there's Portis, McGahee, like 6 NFL running backs I have to fight with. Well, that's Najee, that's Brian Robinson, that's Jacobs. Like, you go to Bama as a running back, you might not see the field. You might be playing linebacker or safety before you know it.
Right. That gets changed quickly.
Yeah.
Jaden Daniels with that rib injury, limited again on Thursday, but he played through that last week.
Yeah, I
he
think
plays
it's
again
just a
this
pain
week.
thing.
Brian Thomas with a chest injury, limited practice on Thursday.
That's actually very good news.
That's good news.
People thought that was a week-to-week, maybe IR situation. He's been really good.
The problem is, again, it's a chest injury. If he takes a big hit to the chest, he's boom, out of the game.
But Kirk's not there. I mean, he's the number 1 receiver right now without question.
Yeah. Travis Etienne listed as limited Thursday. Again, I think that's I think he comes back in a third down role. Tank Bigsby is the guy.
They're kind of a must-win situation too.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they're sellers either way. They just traded their left tackle, but another loss, and it's not even close.
Speaking of Bigsby, he was limited on Thursday with an ankle injury.
Yeah, I know he's got something bugging him a little bit.
Yeah.
I think he's supposed to play.
Yeah. Gabe Davis with the shoulder, limited on Thursday.
I don't even upgrade him.
No.
He's not for me.
No. Xavier Legette with a toe injury added to the injury report Thursday for the Carolina Panthers. He would have been one of the guys that...
The guys they want to see are him and Corley, who's kind of exciting too, and Mingo. Like... I don't know if Thielen will be there much longer. You just got to go total youth movement.
Yeah.
But they don't have a good guy throwing the ball.
Jonathan Brooks, full participant on Thursday for them.
Wow. I would not start him this week. But,
no. I'd be interested.
Yeah.
See what he does.
If he gets 10 carries, I'm going to see what it looks like.
Adam Thielen with that hamstring.
I don't think it's crazy that Chuba gets traded either. Except I don't think there's anybody in the market for a running back right now.
Dallas should be.
They should be, but I don't think they are.
Yeah.
They definitely should be.
Adam Thielen with that hamstring, limited again on Thursday. He still hasn't been activated, I don't believe, off the IR.
Would you give them a 7th-round pick for him?
I would think they want him to play to showcase him
at
a
least
little bit.
know that he can be on the field.
Yeah.
Right? At his age, and haven't seen him all year. He'd help any team, though.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't have to even play a ton.
As I mentioned, Alan Lazard placed on IR with that chest injury. They, of course, play tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Lazard wasn't really fantasy worthy after the acquisition of Devontae Adams.
No.
But it does mean that Mike Williams might not be on the market.
He's now definitely the 3. They also don't really have a slot.
Yeah.
I mean, Lazard was their big power slot. I mean, I know Wilson and Adams can, and they will, but Williams is not a slot.
Yeah. Looking at some of the other stuff here, not a lot of injury news thus far today. A lot of stuff from yesterday still. Yeah. Wow, that's it.
Okay.
So, so looking at tonight's game.
Let's see what you like tonight.
Somebody asked me on social media, actually, on the X Twitter, about starting Tank Dell tonight. I'm like, I don't love it.
I don't love it either.
He
doesn't look right.
He doesn't look right, and he's the only game in town right now. I'd be more interested in starting.
I don't know if he's in my top 25.
No.
I mean, I love the player. I just think he's not back from injury / shooting. And he just has not looked as explosive the entire season, and he hasn't gotten as much action as a result of it. Now, I'm sure he'll get a target or two more than he would have if there's a full load.
But also get far more attention.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if Sauce will travel or what, but I don't think it boosts him as much as you'd like if you're a Tank Dell owner. Might even be great time to trade him.
Yeah.
Before kickoff tonight.
Right. That's not a bad idea
Right.
either. Let's just do so. One of the things that I did this week in our league, and I was in a pretty good spot. I'm 5-3, and I started looking ahead. Some of the guys who have lesser records, like I'm open for business. Nobody's untouchable on my team.
I did that last night in my dynasty league. I spent all my dynasty leagues, my 3 best teams. I went to the 3 worst teams out there and made offers for like an hour last night.
Yeah.
Threw out a ton of offers.
Because this is the time of year, much like we're talking about the trade deadline in the NFL, that those teams got to do something.
Oh, yeah.
If you're 2-6 right now, you're 2-6 for a reason.
That's actually one of my favorite parts about dynasty because I'm offering them draft picks.
Yeah.
Young guys.
So the trade that I ended up making was to acquire Breece Hall.
Yeah.
But I also got Marvin Harrison Jr. and Jake Ferguson.
He made a big deal.
But I traded J.K. Dobbins, Brock Bowers, and Drake London. And I was on the fence whether I wanted to do it or not.
Bowers would be my concern.
Until I looked at the schedules for all 6 players.
Yeah.
And I looked at the schedule. Breece Hall's schedule during fantasy playoff time is really soft.
Really soft.
Marvin Harrison's schedule is really soft.
Okay.
Jake Ferguson's schedule, I didn't care so much about that. I also have Kyle Pitts.
Yeah.
So I have a backup plan.
And Pitts is coming on.
Yeah.
I mean, Bowers was probably Bowers and London were your 2 biggest pieces.
Which was one of the reasons why I thought I can move London if I'm going to have to. If I end up starting Pitts because Bowers was going to be part of this trade package, I'm going to start Pitts. I don't want to have Pitts and London in the same lineup.
Same game all the time.
Yeah,
right?
that can go really bad.
First quarter, right? Yeah.
And all of a sudden you just take
Get
2
nothing.
donuts.
Yeah.
But looking at the schedules, like Bowers down the stretch plays some tough defenses.
Okay.
London down the stretch plays some really tough like I think they have Denver and some teams like that you're going to look at that and go, well, he's going to draw a number 1 cornerback in this situation, and I don't love it.
I know you can find this information out there too of like strength of schedule versus tight ends remaining. Some of these fantasy only
But
sites.
specifically, I was looking at the playoffs.
Okay.
That 2 or 3 game stretch in the playoffs, like who do they got that week?
And you think you'll be in the playoffs?
Yeah.
And of course, right.
So that's one of the things you want to start looking at. If you're trying to position yourself a little bit, like don't just you got into this point with these guys, and that's great.
Yeah.
But can they get you the championship? If you've positioned yourself well, can you get to the championship?
It happens all the time. Like, boy, I got a ton of points. I really like my team, but I just
your matchups
wasn't my
in the playoffs
fault. I had
stink.
bad matchups.
All of a sudden, it's your team that's scoring 150 points every week. All of a sudden, goes out in the first round of the playoffs or the second round of the playoffs and scores 120 because you had bad matchups.
Yeah. No, I think that's a really good thing to look at. What's your opinion on this? Let's say how many we've played? 8 games?
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you have 2 or 3 fantasy wins, but you're one of the highest scoring teams in the league.
Then I just ride it out.
You treat yourself like I'm in good shape. I just
these guys
lucky,
that
right?
like one of the things that one of the guys in fact it was the guy that I made the trade with. He's whatever. I think he's only 4-4. He's not out of it at all.
Yeah.
I just need to shake things up. You're not shaking anything up.
They don't know.
These players don't know that they've been traded. You're not shaking anything up. All you're doing is making a move. And the other thing that I did, and these are readily available.
Breece Hall didn't call Brock Bowers and talk it over. Right.
I got the best player in the draft or in the trade.
Hall.
In Hall. Yes, I gave up 2 good players, but Marvin Harrison, I think,
he's not far off from London.
He's not far off from London. Ferguson versus Bowers, I get it, but I got the best player.
Well, that's what you gave up.
Yeah.
Right. You lost
J.K. Dobbins, after a hot start, hasn't been great.
Nah, he's not a bad sell.
Yeah.
Especially with his injury history, and he hasn't put 17 games together at the running back position ever.
Ever. Yeah.
Right.
So, you just got to think of these things. There are also things out there, they're trade analyzers, and they're readily available out there. And when I plugged this particular trade into the trade analyzer, it was way in my favor. Like,
I think you got the
by
better end of the
20
deal, too.
points in my favor. Like, okay, because I think Breece Hall, and I know he didn't do it last week necessarily, but the new coaching staff wants to use him.
Oh, they've definitely shown that.
Yeah.
I mean, he's getting much more of a higher snap count since the coaching change.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not even close.
Yeah. So
and Allen's a good player, but Hall's special.
Yeah.
Right.
Hall is just so much better.
Yeah. He's a better receiver, too.
Yeah.
So I bring up Dynasty a lot because I really enjoy Dynasty. And, like, I was looking at my team's deep dive last night, and there's one league where I'm 2-6, but I have the most points in the league.
That's just bad luck.
So I offered my first-round pick to a couple people, and they're going to look at me like, this dude's 2-6, give me a first-round pick.
Yeah.
I might get the first overall pick. I'm like, and then maybe that's true. Maybe I'll lose every game from here on out. But I'm letting them know, hey, I'm going to send you an early first for Chris Olave or whatever, you know what I want. I'm in it to win instead.
A little salesmanship.
Yeah, I mean, you just put it in the thing, like early first, you know, just in case you want to double check, you know. I just have a bad defensive coordinator, you know, we're going to fire him.
But you're not trying to shake things up. You're just trying to.
That's what I was going to say. But in redraft, shaking things up doesn't matter.
No.
You know, if you're 2-6, it doesn't mean you have to make a trade. You might just not have started
You've
the
had
right
bad
people.
luck, or you started the wrong guys.
You have Tyreek Hill. You know, what doesn't mean you should trade Tyreek Hill now.
Right.
You know?
Which my son did, and I'm like, we were talking on Sunday morning. I'm like, why the hell did you trade Tyreek Hill now?
When Tua gets back, right?
Yeah.
I mean, unless you're to get the world for him.
And he ended up getting. It was Kyler Murray and Malik Neighbors for Tyreek Hill. Like,
I understand that.
That's
I mean,
he didn't have a
Neighbors is really good.
His quarterback was an issue. I get it.
But if I'm going to trade Tyreek Hill now,
you had to sit and wait because he had traded with the same guy to get him.
It's going to cost the same thing it did on draft day.
Right.
I mean, it's not going to cost what it did a month ago.
Right.
I mean, I would dump them a month ago for 80 cents on the dollar.
Yeah. Not what I would have done.
Also, pay attention to bye weeks. I mean, if you're trading people and you're like, all my guys already had their bye.
Right.
You know, like,
well, and that's the other thing.
Too, right?
This year, I think one of the guys that I trade, I think it might be the Atlanta guys. I think their buys in week 13.
I think it's a playoff week.
Yeah.
Like, dump your Falcons now.
Yeah. Like,
I mean, Bijan's great, but you get a ton for him, and you're going to be pretty
I don't
sad.
want to be sitting in the first round of the playoffs and like, oh, I don't have Bijan.
Yeah.
You know?
There must be some other team does too, of course.
Yeah.
They're not going to be as one. But there is someone this year that fantasy playoffs are not available.
Yeah, the NFL didn't think about that.
They don't care, yeah.
They don't care about that. Let's just while we're talking here about that, let's
pull up the NFL schedule grid. It'll tell you. There's at least
there are
two,
teams.
of course,
there are teams on bye in fantasy playoffs
certain.
this year. Yeah, I think.
And you're pretty sure Atlanta's one of them?
It might be week 14. There's somebody on a bye in week 14. Yeah, well, there's a bunch of teams. Week 14, Denver, Indianapolis, New England, Washington, Baltimore, Houston.
Wow, that's a lot.
That's a lot.
I mean, not only is it I just mean it's a lot that I would want to get out from under some of those players.
Week 14, if I got I'm riding high. I got Lamar.
Yeah, Henry.
I got Derrick Henry. I'm riding high.
I'm in the playoffs.
But I'm not going to have him in the first round of the playoffs.
Right.
I'd better get a bye.
And some leagues don't even do that.
Yeah.
You know, right. New England doesn't hurt you. I mean, in terms of players that'll be off.
Indy. What if you got conceivably you could have Lamar and Jonathan Taylor.
You could have Henry and Taylor. Have nothing
You're
left.
You're going to lose.
You're going to lose, right?
You are going to lose.
No, that's a problem for fantasy. I mean, that's a bit of a glitch.
Yeah.
Come
on, NFL, be better.
Dump those guys.
We love the NFL embraces fantasy football, and then the schedule maker does this.
Not to mention, in the real world, I would hate to have a week 13 bye.
Yeah,
that's
week 14.
No, it's 14. Yeah,
yeah. Week 13.
They should be closer. I mean, any team that has a real early or real late bye, I think, is a disadvantage.
Yeah, week 13 is.
Anyone?
Maybe there isn't anybody off on week 13. No, week 13 is a weird schedule. It was week 14 that had all
Christmas or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's not a week 15 bye, is there? I hope not. No, it must have been week 12 for. I was just looking at like week 12. I'm like, I might need to win that game, and I don't want to be without.
Well, the week 14 thing is really
week
important.
12 is Atlanta, Buffalo, Cincinnati, New Orleans, the Jets, and Jacksonville.
That's the last fantasy regular season week.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's some relevant guys there.
Assuming people don't play week 18.
Yeah.
No, is that right? Week 17's the Super Bowl now.
Right. Yeah. So set week. There's 18 weeks. Week 17 is the Super Bowl now.
Yeah. So 16, 15, 14 are playoffs.
Yeah. 14 is
14 is the first week of the playoffs. Okay. And there's buys that week.
Yes.
6 of them.
A lot of them.
Yeah.
Meaningful ones.
Yeah. It doesn't matter what teams they are. I mean,
I would really consider trading Henry or Lamar before the
and do it now.
And do it now
because people
before somebody realizes.
Oh, yeah, everyone listens. Like, I'm going to get an offer on my phone coming. All right, you Derrick Henry for blah 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 blah. Right.
And that might be great. Maybe you do get a buy. If your league has a buy, you might be. I'm going to ride this out and see if I can get one of the 2 or 3 buys or 4 buys, whatever it may be. But if not, you don't want to be playing.
You're going to be short. Some playoff team is going to be short some of their best players.
And they're going to be
who are the 6 again?
ticked at the world.
Yeah, sorry. I thought, right there. I know Baltimore, New England. New England's not bad.
No.
Baltimore's got 2 studs.
Denver, Indianapolis, New England, Washington.
Denver's not horrible. Indy's so-so. Washington could be bad. I mean, there's 2 starters at least.
And Houston.
Houston, probably Nico's back.
Yeah.
I mean, Stroud's probably
Mixon.
a starter. Mixon. Yeah, so there's 10 high-profile fantasy guys off week 1 of the playoffs.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Like starters.
They're starters, yeah.
Yeah. Surefire starters. So
Let
just
alone
something,
Henry, who's like the MVP maybe.
Yeah, just something to keep in mind if you're starting to your trade deadline's probably coming up. Most leagues are somewhere around week 10, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
So think about that.
You got to be on top of that.
Think about that. Think about moving. I mean, it stinks to trade a guy like Lamar or a guy like Henry, but you're going to get a boatload.
But it's not like you're not going to get something back.
Yeah, you're going to get a boatload of players back, and they're not going to be on bye during the playoffs.
Right.
But you should have known that going in.
Yeah, actually should have paid more attention to that on draft day.
We talked about it a little bit over the summer, but
I never pay attention to bye weeks either because I usually make so many moves that it doesn't end up being an issue,
But anyways, let's get to a break. He is the Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. Matt and I will be back with more right after this. And we are back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. There's only one, except no imitations. Matt, looking here at the 33rd team now. They have their midseason all-rookie team.
Okay, let's do it.
This has some relevance to the Steelers, as you might imagine. At quarterback, they have Jaden Daniels. I think that's a slam dunk.
Far and away.
Yeah, slam dunk.
Yep. He's going to win Rookie of the Year, maybe if he doesn't play another snap.
Yeah.
Even as great as Neighbors has been, and
At running back, they went with Bucky Irving.
Tracy's making a push.
Tracy could end up sneaking that away from him.
Irving's been impressive.
He's been good.
The top 2, Benson and Brooks, have hardly played.
Yeah.
I mean, those are the
they
guys
can't get on the
coming
field.
out.
But you knew
I
that
think
kind of
who else?
going into it.
Well,
Marshawn
Brooks,
Lloyd.
yeah,
Marshawn
yeah.
Lloyd hasn't been a big part of
No.
it.
It's not a strong rookie position.
No.
I bet Tracy. Yeah, those are the 2.
Yeah.
I mean, Tracy hasn't. There's a lot of. First month, he didn't do anything.
Yeah.
At
wide receiver, Brian Thomas and Malik Neighbors.
I say Neighbors is the easy one. I think McConkey will make a push. I don't think Harrison's done with this conversation, but if it's up till now, those are the 2.
Yeah. Oh, they picked Harrison as well. He took 3 receivers. How about that? There you go.
He would be my 3rd, yeah.
Yeah. Tight end is Brock Bowers. That's
Easily.
pretty simple. You take one in the top 10. That's how you're supposed to use them.
Right.
Offensive line. At tackle, Joe Alt.
Missed a little time, but he's been really good.
Yeah. J.C. Latham.
Okay. The first-round tackles have been injured or not great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At guard, Dominic Pooney with the 49ers.
An easy one.
Yeah. And then Jackson Powers Johnson with the Raiders.
He seems like he's been a part-time player, though.
He's been hurt.
I know there's been some injuries. I can't think any other guards, though.
They said that the second guard spot was difficult to choose as no one besides Pooney has quite played up to all-rookie standard.
Yeah. I'm not even sure how many true starters there are.
Mason McCormick could have been that guy.
I'd say when
and
it's all
he might
said and
be by
done,
the end of the year.
I'd say by the end of the year, I like his chances.
Yeah. In fact, I think he kind of got overlooked here because I think he probably has as many starts as Powers Johnson.
Probably pretty close.
Yeah. So keep an eye on that.
We're coming to center here, though.
Yes.
Missing 2 games. I mean, I think Frazier on the field definitely would be my pick. But Barton hasn't missed any time, and he's been really good. And 9 out of 10 years, he would be the rookie center. I'm curious who they picked.
Zach Frazier.
Okay.
Here's what it says. Zach Frazier's missed the last 2 games with an ankle injury, but his tape from the first 6 weeks was elite.
It was elite.
He's delivered an absurd number of knockdowns in the run game, and his 1.94% pressure rate against the pass is the lowest among rookie offensive linemen, not just centers.
I know.
Linemen.
So we did the all-pro conversation last hour. I almost mentioned him with the centers. But
Pro Football Focus has him as the second highest graded center in the league.
I just didn't because he missed 2 games.
Yeah.
But if he had those 2 games, I think he's not. I think he's in the Creed Humphrey level, so far. Right.
So that's what you're getting coming back to this offense coming out of the break.
Yeah, that's nice.
That's not a bad.
And again, McCormick's in the mix too.
And he's got those two have worked together. They're buddies. That's going to be a tandem for the next
maybe decade. That could be DeCastro and Pouncey. Who knows?
At edge, Jared Verse with the Rams.
I think he's my defensive rookie of the year. He's been really good.
The other edge is Letu with the Colts.
Okay, that's who my preseason pick was.
Yeah.
But he's been in the rotation, and it's a bad defensive draft from what you remember. That doesn't mean that they're bad defensive rookies, but it was not an elite defensive draft.
The 3 technique, they picked Byron Murphy.
Okay, missed time, but he's been a difference maker.
Yeah, he's good. At nose tackle, Devondre Sweat. He's been
really good.
Yeah.
I didn't approve of the pick. I'm like, just a run stuffer. He's been a force.
He would have looked really good in the middle of the Steelers defense.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we've talked maybe more off the air than on, but I think that's a target for me.
That's how I would approach next year's draft. I wouldn't draft. I wouldn't go looking for an end,
right?
As much as I would a nose tackle, and you can get those guys 3rd round, 4th round, somewhere in there.
We haven't really had the opportunity.
Devondre Sweat was what, 3rd round pick?
No, he's real early second.
Early, that's right.
That's why I was like, man, that's early. I thought that. I didn't think that would work out for where he was gone. I thought he'd go in the 3rd.
Yeah.
We haven't even had this conversation, but trade deadline, I would consider a nose and make Benton. I mean, this is a much bigger conversation for this segment, but they've had all these problems stopping the inside run and nickel. Well, if it's Benton and Hayward, that's not so bad. You know what I mean? And you bulk it up a little bit. Adams isn't due back anytime soon. I'd like to see Benton as an end.
Yeah.
So I would consider if there's a nose out there that's cheap, that's a run stuffer for 25 plays a game.
That being said, I mean, Benton has to – he's great playing the pass.
Great.
And penetrating.
Yeah.
He could be more stout at the point of attack.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's why I think he's more of an end than a nose.
Yeah.
And he's just a work in progress in general, too.
Right. At linebacker, Edgerrin Cooper with the Packers.
Yeah.
And Peyton Wilson with the Steelers.
I was sitting there straining. I'm like, who's really lighting it up as a rookie
Here's
linebacker?
What they say. Peyton Wilson's rookie season has been similar to Cooper's with slightly less extreme highs and lows. He hasn't been a full-time starter, but he's taken advantage of his opportunities, and his snap counts have gradually increased each week. Well, that's because they played more nickel.
People keep him nickel.
Yeah.
But he still is a 30-snap-a-week guy for 8 weeks in a row.
And he shows up.
Oh, he shows up, yeah. And I don't think the competition's real stiff at off-the-ball linebacker.
Yeah.
It's a bad draft, and I can't think anyone that's really tearing it up.
Wilson fell in the draft primarily for medical reasons, but if he can stay healthy, the Steelers got incredible value in the 3rd round.
No question. I mean, that's shown up every step of the way.
Yeah.
From minicamp till now.
At cornerback, they got Quinion Mitchell.
He's been really good, too. I think he'd be my 2nd vote for Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Renardo Green with the 49ers.
Yeah.
That's a kid out of Florida that I liked.
Yep.
And then another guy that we liked a lot was Drew Phillips with the Giants at nickel.
Real good. Steelers didn't shy away from him, though.
No.
I might take Cooper DeJean at nickel. He's been really good, too.
He hasn't played as many snaps.
He hasn't, no. But he's starting to come on real strong lately. The Eagles' defense has been a lot better the last couple of weeks. I think he's a big reason why.
At safety, Evan Williams with the Packers.
Okay. He was like – they brought in like 5 safeties this offseason.
That's what they do.
Yeah, and he was the one I knew least about.
Yeah.
He's been good.
And Tyke Smith with the Buccaneers.
He also does a lot of slots.
Yeah.
I think he got hurt last week.
He did, yeah.
But he's smaller, but he's had a really good year.
He had concussion in week 7, yeah.
Okay.
And that's all their picks. But certainly, by the time the season is over, I could see the Steelers having one more guy on that list.
McCormick, you know that? Okay. I thought it was somebody we didn't bring up. Yeah.
I can see him having 3 guys on the all-rookie team.
Sure nice getting Frazier back.
Yeah.
I mean, you get 3 rookies on the 3 – I mean, if this draft mimics Omar's first draft, I mean, I'm sure Porter, Benton, Broderick Jones would have all been considered at this point last year or at the end of last year.
And look at the jump that Washington has taken this year.
Right.
Darnell Washington was an okay blocker last year.
Yeah. He's a killer.
He's killing people this year.
Now he's catching the ball.
And now he's catching the ball,
yeah.
Because he's been killing people in the run game. That's what that has opened up because nobody expects him to ever go out for a pass.
Right.
Because he blocks so well.
You're going to get Trice back from that class. We haven't mentioned Herbig, who's already a really good player.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm just thinking big picture. You string 2 B-plus drafts together, you're going to be good for a while. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, unless you're a terrible quarterback or something like that. But, I mean, you put 2 good drafts together. It doesn't happen as much in the league as you think.
No, it's
that are like top 10 in there of 2 years in a row.
Yeah. In last year's draft, I mean, it was either voted 1 or 2 by pretty much everybody.
On the day it happened.
On the day it happened, and that held up.
It held up, right.
This year's draft might be as impactful.
Maybe. You only have the first-round pick.
And your first-round pick has missed the entire – is going to miss
right.
the entire
The best
season,
guy
basically.
might
Yeah.
To be seen later. I mean, if he's as good as Frazier, forget about it. I mean, your right side of the line could be phenomenal.
Yeah, for a long time.
Yeah, assuming he plays right.
Yeah,
I don't know.
for a long time.
Right. It could be, yeah.
So, I mean, these 2 drafts have been very impactful. They've gotten a lot of good players out of it.
A lot of good players.
You know, sometimes
we don't know who Roman Wilson is yet.
Yeah,
either,
these guys slip in the draft for whatever reason. It doesn't matter. You know, Washington was a knee last year.
There's also a million tight ends drafted that year.
Yeah, same thing with Wilson this year.
Right.
You know, knee. Well, you know, if you get 5 good years out of him, you get 5 good years out of the player.
Yeah.
Or whatever it is, you know.
Or maybe it bothered Washington last year and won't ever again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Who knows? I mean, some of them are different. Like a lot of doctors will tell you, I think he's a one-contract guy. You know, he's going to be lucky to get to that 4th year and still be the athlete he is now. Or, yeah, you're just going to have to wait 6 months till he's regular, you know, until he's back.
Yeah.
You know, okay, well, I can't take him a second, but I'll take him a third.
Here's what's happened to me, and people look at this and, well, you know, Omar's done such a better job than Kevin Colbert. And I don't think it's apples to apples, because
times have changed dramatically.
Times have changed dramatically. You don't see teams giving out 4-year contracts anymore in free agency. It used to be if you were offering a guy in free agency a contract, they weren't taking anything under 4 years.
And also,
now you're seeing guys take 2-year deals or 3-year deals.
Right.
And that's what they want.
That's a big deal. Right, it's a big part of it.
The players want those.
It's also easier now, or then. That doesn't mean Kevin did a worse job. There was more hits in the 6th and 7th round than there are now. The draft has changed over the last couple years.
It's also, if you look at those teams that Kevin had, especially early, they were always maxed out to the cap every year because they had stars.
So many stars, right? Yeah. You couldn't go, we'll pick up a guard in free agency.
Like they didn't want to get rid of James Harrison in 2012. Was it 2012 or 2013?
Hargrave's the one that always comes to mind.
Yeah, they didn't want to get rid of Hargrave, but they couldn't afford him.
It was Tuitt and Hayward. You had 2 stars making money. The other thing that Kevin had, good and bad, it's a great problem to have. Many of his years he's drafting with Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah.
Which means you're drafting late.
You're also drafting. His average draft pick was 24th or lower.
Right.
A little difficult.
But I mean, you at least knew who your quarterback was. You didn't have to be like so many of these teams, and I don't think the Steelers will ever be that situation. I know they took Pickett in the first round, but I don't think they're going to be
first
taking
quarterback they took in the first round since Terry Bradshaw.
Right.
And, I'm sorry. There was they took Bradshaw, then they took I can't think.
Hanratty was before him, right? Yeah. Was there somebody in the 70s though?
It was 19. Mark Malone. Mark
Malone was supposed to be Bradshaw's
brain freezer.
Yeah. He was supposed to be the next one.
But those are the 3 quarterbacks they've taken in the modern era. The modern era in the NFL takes you back to 1970.
Yep. So what I was going to say about Kevin and Ben, though, is he was never rarely in the position of, man, we might have to trade next year's first and next year's first to go to the 6th pick in the draft to go take Daniel Jones and hope he hits.
Yeah. That's not a good way to do business.
It's not a good way to do business. But his average draft pick that they earned was 24 overall. So you were always you never got – I always got a kick out like the Patriots and Steelers of that era. They had very good offensive tackles.
You're never in a spot to pick them.
They don't get there. Yeah. They don't get to 24. You don't get edge guys that easily either. The Steelers did because they
for years that was the argument at cornerback. Why can't they get a cornerback? They're cornerback. Like
those 3 positions
you're
go
picking
fast.
like 26th every year. Like
right, the 6'2" guy with super long arms that runs a 4.3 at corner isn't there at 25.
You're not getting a chance at Patrick Peterson.
No,
you're not getting Joe Hayden.
No, exactly.
Those guys go top 10.
That's why the defense was manufactured the way it was.
Yeah.
You know, we can't get corners.
But
we can't
now,
get tackles. You know,
the league has shifted so much where we see more trades at the trade deadline. We see movement like that. We see guys get into free agency more than they used to. That those things happen now. Like teams don't want to use the franchise tag anymore.
No. No,
it used to
it's
be
frowned
when the
upon, right.
franchise tag first started, there'd be like 12 or 13 guys get franchised. Now it's like 5.
Way less fifth-year options too.
Yeah.
It's just not as conducive now.
Yeah.
I mean, it used to be
that's
like
good
an
for the
almost a foregone
players.
conclusion. Right,
Yeah.
right.
You know, people talk about it with Najee's. Well, why didn't they pick up Najee's contract? They first of all, it fully guarantees that not
If
only
you got hurt in week 1, you'd be really unhappy about it.
it doesn't just fully guarantee the last year of the contract. Because once you do that, you fully guarantee basically 2 years. Because you're not going to cut the guy.
You're not gonna cut the guy. Right.
You're fully guaranteeing both year 4 and year 5.
Yeah. I was going to kick out of that like Lamar's contract or whatever. Like, well, how much was guaranteed? Well, you're not going to cut him.
Right. Doesn't matter. Not going to get cut.
Yeah, Mahomes isn't getting cut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing about the contract with Najee, it was $6.7 million this year to pick up the 5th-year option.
Right.
So let's say the Steelers go to him after this season and say, Najee, we love you. We want you to be back next year. Let's say it's 3 years, $30 million. People are going to look at that and say, well, it cost them $3.3 million for next year. No, it didn't.
That's not very much.
Here's the thing. His cap hit next year, even if he signed a 3-year, $30 million extension contract,
Won't be high.
Next year's not going to be $10 million.
Right.
Next year's going to probably be less than the $6.7 million that you were going to pay him.
And even if you sign
And
that,
he's happy about it because you gave him a $10 million signing
right,
bonus.
he's thrilled about it. He puts a huge check in the bag.
He's making more money.
Right. And if he falls off a cliff, you could probably get out of that last deal and cut him, and it won't hurt you.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, by the structure of it, you know?
Yeah.
Right. Now, I think with some hindsight on Halloween Day, if you said, should they have picked it up, I'd say yes.
I'd say no because of the reason I just gave.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, too.
I can probably get him cheaper than $6.7 million next year.
Hit.
With the cap hit.
Yeah, I'm sure you can. I'm sure you can. Because you give him league minimum and a $10 million signing.
Yeah, his base salary is going to be $1 million. Let's say he gets $10 million signing bonus, or 15.
Even if it's 12.
If it's
yeah,
15,
right.
it's still $6 million. It's cheaper than what you would have paid him on. Yeah,
right.
And it's not fully guaranteed.
It's not fully guaranteed. My big concern was if you would have given him the 5th, and he blows out his knee in week 1,
that was the problem.
And that position gets hurt.
Yeah.
You know, more than most. Why I said I might do it now is because I know I got a half a year out of him at least. You know what I mean? And it's been even better than expected.
Yeah, but you can't do it now.
But well, not of course, right. At the time, I had no problem with it. Right.
But people took that and looked at it like the Steelers didn't like Najee. Well, they didn't pick up his 5th-year up. Look at all the players in the first round from the last 2 drafts that didn't get their 5th-year option picked up.
I wonder how many running backs have.
Because the rules changed.
Yeah. It's like 10 out of 32 now.
Yeah.
And it's like Jamar Chase and Penny Sewell.
Because that 5th-year option is now basically the franchise tag. If he's made a Pro Bowl and Najee's made a Pro Bowl.
Right. And it's not that hard to make a Pro Bowl.
Right.
You know, I mean, so that escalates right away. I mean, the no-brainer Jamar Chases. Justin Jefferson gets them picked up.
Yeah.
But most don't.
Most don't now because the rules, it used to be your top 10 picks were guaranteed because, you know, and then after that, it was slotted in at a much lower price, so everybody got their 5th-year. Unless you were terrible, you got your 5th-year option picked up. With the new CBA, that's out the window.
So I mentioned yesterday after the Deontay trade, it's pretty clear to me that Carolina is the worst organization in the league. And I killed him on draft day. We had to move into the first round to get the 5th-year option on Leggett. Why? Why would you give anything up to go through 2 picks to get Leggett? Or just so you got in the first round.
Unless they thought Kansas City or somebody was going to take him.
Right.
And maybe they would have.
But there was like 4 receivers, Pearsall and Coleman.
Yeah.
Coleman ended up going to their pick. Buffalo's like, we'll go to 33 or 34.
By the way, all that talk about, I can't believe the league let the Chiefs get Worthy. How does that work? I mean, he's been okay.
He's fine.
But he's not like tearing the cover off of defenses every week.
No, I might rather have Coleman.
Yeah.
No, I mean, he's been okay.
No,
he can't get off man coverage.
I heard that 1,000 times, though, in the
I
offseason.
know.
I can't believe the league let the Chiefs get the fastest player in the draft. Well, there's a reason.
Yeah, he's got warts. I mean, he's skinny as a rail and he can't get off man coverage. Right.
He's not.
He might have a great career, but he's not had a great rookie year.
He's a better version of McCole Hardman right now.
Yeah. He's not Tyreek.
No.
Not even close.
No, for sure. Tyreek made a bigger impact his rookie year.
I don't remember his rookie year. It was weird.
He wasn't a star, but he was good.
Because he was a running back /
he
returner.
made plays every week.
I don't remember his rookie year.
Yeah, but
Early as certainly did.
That was the 30. We went through all kinds of
all
rabbit
sorts
holes
of
down
stuff there, right?
That's what we do, though.
That's what you do.
This is freeform jazz radio. In case if you're a new listener to the show, this is what we do.
Not a lot of structure.
We don't talk before we sit down to start talking. We just start talking.
I never know what we're going to talk about.
He never knows.
Sometimes you at least have a clue.
I don't even know half the time. I just
you carry the ball up the court.
Yeah. Today I did a little more prep than usual just because I knew we had no guests and it's a bye week.
Yeah.
So I did a little bit more prep.
Yeah.
Typically,
no opponent to talk about.
I did want to talk about that Najee thing, though, because somebody had asked me about that in our comments. So
yeah,
we do reply to the comments.
The whole thing that you laid out, too, like you're going to get him at a lesser cap hit next year, 90% chance.
Yeah.
If you want him.
If you want him.
Right.
And at this point, I don't know why they wouldn't.
I wouldn't either.
Now it's just a question, does he want to come back here? I would imagine he does.
And what offers are out there for
him.
And
he may want to say, I want to test the market. That's fine. Give us
great running back draft, too. If you go somewhere else, we'll get the comp pick and use a third-round pick on the kid from North Carolina or whatever.
Yeah. Give us first
right
right
the hardest
refusal.
position to find.
Yeah.
But he's been really good.
Absolutely. Let's get to a break. He is Matt Williamson. I'm Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. Matt and I will be back to finish up the show right after this. And we are back. I'm Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And this is The Drive. And Matt, last night I put something out on the X Twitter, as I like to call it. And it was about Russell Wilson, something with Russell Wilson. And somebody from Denver tweeted back at me, he's had one good game, and just wait, the old Russ is going to come back. And
you guys keep him. We don't want him.
Yeah.
We're better
so first of all, it's been 2 good games.
Right.
So your thesis has already been proven wrong. Right. And then I just told him to go away as a troll. What I should have said to him is that, hey, Steelers are paying him $1 million this year, and the Broncos are paying him $39.
Mm-hmm. Who's happy here in this situation?
So he's already led this team to two victories. That's worth $1 million at the quarterback position.
That's worth $1 million.
Yeah.
You would pay $1 million of victory every day of the week in this league.
And they've paid $500,000 per victory, basically.
So far, and it's getting cheaper as
they
win
go.
One more game, right?
Yeah. And, by the way, Steelers beat the Broncos earlier this year, so there's that.
Without him.
Without him.
Right.
So
there's that.
Chew on that a little bit, Broncos fan, trying to troll me. But no, I bring this up because Aaron Schatz has put together a little piece here on ESPN. And Schatz does, of course, the DVOA rankings as well.
On FTN, yeah.
5 players whose deals this offseason are working out.
Yeah.
Who were signed in the offseason, and then 5 that didn't. Saquon Barkley.
That's a hit.
That's done.
I think he's the second highest paid running back, but you're happy about it.
They're happy about it.
Yeah.
Stephon Gilmore with the Vikings.
Yeah, quietly. They got him super late.
Yeah.
And he's been stressed a lot, and he's playing really well.
Derrick Henry with the Ravens.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's worked out okay.
That's been good.
Danielle Hunter with the Texans.
100%. I mean, they swapped Greenard for Hunter, but if you just look at his contract and what they're getting out of him, they're thrilled.
And Dante Jackson with the Steelers. Now, that was a trade.
That was a trade, but it was an offseason acquisition.
Yeah.
I mean, he wasn't taking draft picks, but it was an offseason acquisition. He's been quite good.
But that very easily could have been Russell Wilson. Now, he probably wasn't because he's only played 2 games at this point.
Right. I'd say if you do it in a month, get Wilson for nothing is pretty darn nice.
Yeah. 5 players whose deals haven't worked out.
I would throw Darnold in there, too. I'm trying to think of, quarterbacks.
There have been some good ones this year.
Yeah.
And again, that movement that we didn't used to see, quarterbacks especially
quarterbacks,
it started
right.
happening more and more often in the NFL now.
Yeah. Maybe Jameis Winston's going to be one.
Maybe.
I mean, it's better than the guy they had.
Gabe Davis with the Jaguars has not worked out. And we said that from day one.
Second he got signed day one. That's just such a
$13 million a year for Gabe Davis is bonkers.
I made the joke.
And that's not even that much.
Minutes after that happened, I'm like, he's a perfect Jag. He'll get cut in 2 years for being a terrible contract. They do it all the time.
The guy he traded places with, Calvin Ridley with the Titans.
Expensive, and
they 4 years, $92 million, and they can't throw him the football.
Yeah, he's had one good game. It happened to be last week, but they spent so much money, and they're one of the worst 3 teams in the league.
Yeah. Tyron Smith with the Jets.
Yeah, I think he looks shot. He's stiff, and he's had.
They should have, when the Cowboys didn't want to bring him back.
I mean,
his
medical history is really extensive.
Yeah.
And they know better than anybody.
Yeah.
Bad organizations do bad stuff.
DeAndre Swift with the Bears.
That's changing, though.
That hasn't been awful.
No. That shocked me because I think he was the first announced player to sign at 12:01 or 4:01 that day.
Here's the thing, though. It was only 3 years, $24 million.
It wasn't an insane
It's
contract.
not an insane
though.
contract.
Right. And
$14 million guaranteed.
He's come on strong.
Yeah.
And one of the theories I believe in is if you have an all-purpose back with a rookie quarterback, I don't mind overpaying him a little bit. Like when Lev Bell was on the market, I'm like, yeah, if he's going to go to a team that's going to make the rookie quarterback's life so much easier behind him, okay, that's a security blanket thing.
But if you could get Najee for that same contract, be like, yeah, sign me up.
Yeah, and
3 years, $24 million.
Yeah, and
all right,
you won't. Yeah,
that's not an insane deal,
right? Because like Ramondre Stevenson's the one I was thinking about with Najee. He signed right before the year at like 10.
Yeah,
which I think they're okay with. I mean, I think that's just the going rate. But if I'm Najee, I want a little more than that.
Yeah,
I mean that's a jumping off point.
Yeah,
considering the year he's had.
Tre'Davious White with the Rams. Who didn't see that coming?
That's an easy one, though.
I mean, he was.
I don't think he was expensive, though.
1 year, $4.3 million.
Yeah, you're still chasing ghosts on that one.
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't been good in 5 years.
He's been hurt a lot.
Yeah.
And even though he was first-round pick, he was not the 6'2", 200-pound, long-arm, 4'3" guy. You know, he was a little undersized technician.
But there are some Steeler fans who would put Patrick Queen on that list. And
I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet.
No.
I think he's gotten a lot better. And, boy, that was a position of worry since Shazier.
Yeah.
And those guys are hard to find.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
No.
Whether Steelers are worth discussing. Jackson was on the list.
I think you
have to bring up Fields and Wilson.
Both quarterbacks have worked out perfectly fine.
Especially when you equate what you paid for them.
Yeah.
You're happy with Van Jefferson.
You're happy with Deshaun Elliott.
Very.
Yeah.
That's at the top of the list almost.
I probably would have put him on there. Not that Jackson hasn't been good, but I might have put him on there ahead of Jackson.
Yeah, because you had to give something up for Jackson, too. I mean, that's a factor in. You're happy with all the Arthur Smith Falcons. I mean, none of them are Julio Jones, but, I mean, they're
contributors.
Pruitt, Patterson, who I just mentioned, Van Jefferson. You're happy they're on board.
Yeah.
They've been helpful. Yeah. Then all the linemen are homegrown, offensive.
Except for Sam Alu.
Yeah, I mean, they weren't this year, though.
Yeah,
right?
no, not this year. Yeah,
right.
Daniels
the additions, right.
But, yeah.
Lowry's to be determined.
Yeah, and that was that's a minimum deal.
He barely made the team. Yeah. You know what I mean? I think that's about it. But all in all, there's not like, buyer remorse.
No.
On any of them.
No, and we've seen that before. When the Steelers were kind of they've been more active in the opening salvo of free agency than they have been in recent. And they could be before. They didn't have the cap space before to do that.
And it's also not good business traditionally to be the first guys signed. You're competing with a lot of teams. All of a sudden, your competition for players falls off.
Yeah.
Do you think they'll be active next year? That's a huge conversation.
It's a huge conversation. It's one we'll have a lot of in the offseason.
Yeah.
I want to see how this one continues to play out, but they've got a good young nucleus now.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these guys are going to have to start getting paid.
I was say you got to figure out quarterback with your money. You have more free agents upcoming this year than you have the last year or two. Some of them James Daniels you could live without.
Yeah.
I mean, they're good players that you already have replacements in hand for.
But I'd try to re-sign Dan Moore.
I would too. I don't have the list in front of me, but I looked the other day, and it was not as bad as I remembered.
Yeah, and you're going to have to at some point start talking about a new contract with TJ.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's going to get expensive.
That's going to, yeah. It's
a little bit.
Yeah, he's pretty valuable. Or he'd make on the open market.
Yeah.
He'd be okay.
Yeah, he'd do just fine. But, Matt, that's going to do it for the show today.
All right.
People wonder, what are you going to talk about during the bye week?
Plenty.
We got plenty to talk about during the bye week.
Yeah, I'm going to dig into draft prospects a little bit more. I'm going to do that kind of stuff too. Yeah.
Tomorrow we'll have games and things of that nature to talk about, even more so than we did today, and lots of other stuff.
If you guys have any suggestions, throw it on
Something
YouTube,
you want to know about?
All
we
right.
just answered a couple of questions that were in the comments today.
Yeah.
So
we never do like mailbag or Twitter or any of that kind of stuff.
I do
but
bring up stuff
you have some
in the comments. I read through the
too,
comments a couple times every day just to make sure nobody's calling me a moron, which they are. But
they are.
That's
reading comments is dangerous material.
Yeah, I like to look at the questions and answer them as I can.
Most of them are very kind usually, though.
Typically.
Hey, we're big fans,
Yeah.
They wouldn't watch.
You don't have to say that, but we appreciate it. Before my partner, Matt Williamson, for Justin Miller here.
Happy Halloween.
The Justin Miller hotline and laughing at our ugliness. For Tyler Vittmeyer, making sure you can see our ugliness live and in person. I am Dale Lolley. We thank you for listening to this edition of The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network.
Steelers football happens here. The Pittsburgh Steelers Audio Network.